My husband thinks I cheated and he's not the father of our baby. Now he's demanding a paternity test and might destroy our marriage. Am I the a-hole?
Again, something John and I have said over and over, paternity test at birth.
I, 28 female, and my husband, 32 male, have a 3-year-old son together. There has never been any doubt that my husband is the father. I've never given him any cause for concern that I cheated on him, and he acknowledges all of this. Last week, he came to me and said that for the last few months, he has been plagued, his word, with this anxiety that our son is not his. They don't look identical, granted, but they definitely share similar features, and I see my husband whenever I look at my son.
Why all of a sudden?
Cheating?
Cheating?
I was obviously blindsided by this. I had no idea he was having these thoughts. I asked him to explain why he thought that our son wasn't his, and he couldn't really provide any answer other than a gut feeling.
A gut feeling just doesn't appear out of nowhere. There's something fishy in here.
He asked me if I would be okay if he got a paternity test done so it could ease his mind. I initially said, absolutely not. No way in hell. I was very, very offended. He told me that he could just do it without my permission, and I said that if he did that, I would never forgive him for it. My husband does not have a history of anxiety, but he did lose his job at the start of the pandemic, so he's been with our son most of the time while I work full-time from home.
He's like, damn, I've been spending all this time with my son and he just sucks, so he can't be my kid.
Now, I know this hasn't been easy on him. I'm not a psychiatrist or anything, but maybe he is starting to resent our son or something from just having to be around him constantly. After our first heated conversation, I spoke with some friends about it, and they said that he was probably having some psychiatric problems due to the stress of not having a job. I came back to my husband and said that if he went to therapy and maybe started taking some anti-anxiety meds, that I would consider getting the test. He was very upset at this and said that once he got back the results of the test, he wouldn't be anxious anymore, and that I wasn't being fair by making him go through this whole rigmarole, again, his word.
I feel the one who is being rigged and rolled is OP.
She's being very rolled and very rigged. And just to get his peace of mind, which again was a phrase he used a lot during this. He again threatened to just get the test without my permission, and I said that would effectively end our relationship. I think there's something more serious going on here. I thought that my solution here is as fair as I'm willing to be. My friends are divided. Some think that I should just take the test, and others are saying he's being insane, and that if I cave to this, there's going to be something else. I need a more neutral perspective here. Am I the a-hole? And there's edits and updates, honestly, quite a bit of juicy meaty details. But as of right now, I want to know, what are you all thinking? Is OP being the a-hole here? Is the husband being the a-hole here?
I think the husband's being the a-hole here.
Yeah.
OP was like, even gave a consolation. It's like, hey, just like go to some therapy, talk about it, and then I will get the paternity test.
Update. The bottom line is we are heading towards divorce.
Oh no.
I took some of the commenters' advice to go to couples therapy, which we did that same week as my first post. I had to push him a bit to get him to agree to the therapy, but I told him it was either this or I was never going to give in to the test. The first Zoom session was a little awkward since neither of us had done therapy before. After listening to both of us, she basically said that she thought that we should do the test to see if it eases his anxiety, and that if it doesn't, which at the time was my concern, that we could go from there. So my husband was thrilled and I agreed, but I wanted to be on Zoom with the therapist when we received the results so we could talk it out with her, which he was fine with. She actually agreed to do the test.
Wow. Okay.
We did the test and we did our Zoom session when our results were in. And big surprise, the paternity test says he's 99% likely to be the father, aka he's the dad. He didn't appear relieved or happy or anything of what I expected. Maybe this was unfair, but I did expect him to cry and maybe apologize to me for his lack of trust. This wasn't just my imagination though, because the therapist asked him in our first session how he would feel if the test came back saying that he was the father. And he said that he would feel relieved. But he was angry.
What? I think he's cheating.
More suspicion.
I think he's cheating. I think he's looking for an excuse to break up.
He kept saying that it was over and that he didn't want to talk about it. He kept repeating, it's done, over and over when the therapist would try to ask a question about how he was feeling, and he was obviously not listening when I tried to talk about my feelings. And I told him I wanted to talk about it. He yelled at me, which he never does. What else is there to effing talk about? I was mortified that he was talking to me this way in front of a therapist, which also, bro, that is going to earn you very negative points like with the therapist.
Because everyone knows therapy is a scoreboard between the first couple and the second couple. All right,
ding, ding,
negative
ding, ding.
2 points for husband.
And the therapist said that we should schedule a new session once he had time to process. After the session, he wouldn't look at me or speak to me. That he was so upset that he was our wonderful son's father made me absolutely lose my mind. We screamed at each other, and it ended with me saying that I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
He's at his brother's apartment now, finally away from our son, which is obviously what he wanted all along. And my mom is now staying at my place to help me out around the house. I texted him this weekend asking if he wanted to do another therapy session, and he asked if I really thought that that would help, and I had to admit that I didn't think it would help.
What happened? I don't understand what happened.
The speed at which this whole thing happened just a month ago, I would have said I was in a happy marriage, is still completely shocking to me, but I don't see us recovering from this. This felt cathartic to type out though, so thanks, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm very curious on everyone's thoughts in the comments, and maybe, I don't know, you've seen like a similar situation or something like that. My guess too, if it isn't cheating, is maybe being with the son so much, he was just like, I do not want to be a father. I want to get out of this completely.
Yeah, if he's not cheating, it's probably he just wasn't ready for fatherhood, which sucks. Like, it's like, Daddy, Mommy, why did you go through divorce? It was your fault, son.
I kind of hate you. So there you go. He's majorly that, especially because we have no idea what's actually going on.
Yeah, but regardless of what's going on, he's the asshole.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I can't see a way out of him being an asshole.
No, there is no way, no path.
My high school bully wants a job. Not a chance. I'm going to get my revenge. So am I the a-hole?
I mean, Sam, the question is, if someone applied to OKOP, like
one of my middle school bullies,
the Salad Boy inventor applied to be our top editor.
No way.
Deny.
Instantly. My female 35 high school tormentor, male 35, is one of the applicants to a job in the company I work for. The position he is seeking is below me, which means he is going to be in direct contact with me many hours a day. I will add that I am not the one doing the hiring, but as I am the one who knows the nature of our job best, my input has a very significant impact, and my recommendation is usually the one that ends up happening. So Opie got all the power.
Yeah.
Out of all the applicants, he is by far the most merited and suitable for the job. My problem is that this man has made my adolescence very hard, to the point that I literally had physical pain every morning before going to school. I wanted to quit many times, but that was not an option to my parents, who threatened to kick me out if I didn't graduate.
Dang. Poor OP, man.
This bully sounds awful, but maybe he's changed,
Or not.
I think it would just make it hard for OP to do their job.
That's what I'm saying, is I think that because of that makes them not the most qualified person.
I love my job now and know I'm strong, and he probably wouldn't be able to bully me anymore. So that's not what I'm worried about. I just can't have a reminder of my darkest time of my life working with me every day. I've contemplated finding another job, but we live in a middle-sized city, and my options to find an equivalent position is minimal, and with an at least 30% decrease in wage if I'm not willing to locate to another city/country.
My God.
I mean, OP, I feel like that you could just come clean maybe about it.
Yeah, and say I think this person could make a terrible work environment, especially for me.
Exactly. Say, hey, this would be a terrible work environment. This person was abusive to me.
Yeah.
The job he's seeking is probably once in a lifetime for anyone who gets it. Pays great and has a lot of opportunities to make a career and climb higher. After 2 interviews with each applicant, they have chosen 5 candidates, and it's now my recommendation that comes into play. I will sit in a 3rd interview with each of the 5 beside management and HR. This part scares me. Hope he's going to be in the room with the bully face to face. Yeah.
Wow.
I have 2 other applicants that would do the job perfectly, so it won't affect our work at all. He is just more merited. To rephrase Moss from IT Crowd, I am in an ethical pickle. What can I do? And there is an update, a juicy update. But John, what do you think?
Again, I think like he should come forward to the team and be like, look, this person absolutely tortured me.
Yeah, I think it would just become pretty clean. Just be honest about it. Yeah. This show was sponsored by your sweet, sexy ass.
If you support our Patreon, you'll get one long, hard, extra bonus episode every week.
I'm talking 3 juicy stories right into those ear holes.
You'll get ad-free episodes. I'm talking all of those ads completely off. All natural.
Not to mention, we'll do it together, live, in front of a camera. With Assholes Anonymous, you'll get a chance to talk to us directly and maybe be featured on the YouTube channel.
Wait, say, but not like that. Like, the fans get to share their stories with us and other fans, and we get to talk about it, right?
And then we'll moon each other at the end.
Oh, God.
So if you want all that ass, support your boys at patreon.com/OKOP show.
That's patreon.com/OKOP show.
So on to the update. I will try to answer every chat request individually, but I wanted to answer questions I got most here. 1, the bullying was bad. It was both verbal and physical. I was the punching bag for a good part of 3 years. I had to cut my hair very short to avoid being pulled around by it. The last year was the worst because he could grope and touch me to see why I wasn't developing like the rest of the girls our age. I was very skinny growing up. That's really, really bad. That's just assault.
Awful, yes.
2, many asked how I could live with myself knowing that I'm not being impartial and not putting what's best for the company first. Who are these fucking capitalist Redditors that are being like, why aren't you putting random capitalist company in front of your own needs?
What? It's Bob from accounting being like, wow, you should really consider the company's priorities.
As I said, I do feel guilty because he was the best for the job. And with COVID, it's harder for people to find work, etc. I feel very guilty indeed, but it was either living with the guilt or the memories, and I chose the guilt. 3, I don't know if he recognized me. I sat on the second interview via Zoom, and it didn't seem that he knew me. So after I wrote here, I decided to confront my demons and sit the third interview to get a better idea of what he's become. He either didn't remember me at all or just played it cool. He was very pleasant and charming, but I don't know if I was making things up in my mind or not when it was my turn to ask questions, but his whole demeanor and the way he looked at me was different. If that's just my imagination or not, I didn't care. I thought I had to tell HR about my past, not the details, but that we have history keeping it professional. But before I knew it, I was bawling my eyes out in her office and I told her everything. She told me not to worry and to go home. Later, I got an email that they're going with the next on the list. So all this drama was for nothing. I made a big deal out of it in my head, but according to HR, the manager didn't even want the details. It was enough that I didn't like him. I've started therapy again. This experience made me realize that I'm far from being 100% recovered and still need to work on myself. Thank you everyone for listening.
Poor OP. Again, like he's not the best for the job because of everything that we talked about. Like it was definitely the best move to come clean, be honest, and pick someone who'll probably do a great job.
And also, like when you work in a company and with a team, it's not about the best individual for the job. It's about the best team member.
Absolutely.
And those could be two different things.
Yes.
Like you could have someone with a higher pedigree that's maybe more proficient, but if they can't work well with the other people in the company, then they're not going to be a good fit.
Exactly.
And so I think that's the case here. But I would love to know your work stories. Have you ever worked with a high school bully or a middle school bully or any kind of bully?
Or work bully?
Yeah. Tell us your work bully stories. And let's get into this next one.
My ex-wife was sleeping with our divorce lawyer before the divorce. I am beyond furious. Am I the a-hole?
The lawyer is really making it final.
We really need a way to drum up business. I got a few ideas, guys.
Just divorce lawyers sleeping with all of your wives.
Now that's what I call finding leads. So I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. I was in a town with my kids and needed to get my son's stuffed bunny from his dad's, so I called him several times.
You know who else's bunny was stuffed? His honey bunny.
Oh God. I called him several times. Didn't answer. I figured I was right there. I would see if he was home. His car was there. I went up to the door, rang the bell, called again, but no answer. But then the door was open, so we walked up to his apartment. I knock and a female answers the door, but not just any female. A female I immediately notice as being the paralegal who handled our recently mediated divorce.
The wife just went up to the husband's place.
Yes.
And then it's the paralegal paralegal who handled the divorce that is
opening the door. And it's like, what you doing here?
oh, just going over some finalizations from the divorce proceedings.
Just going through the paperwork, if you know what I mean. She confirmed that that's who she is, and I calmly excused myself. Come to find out that they had been seeing each other and sleeping together prior to the divorce process, and that was why he insisted we use a law firm that we did.
It sounds like the husband was just trying to get the best deal possible. Little did he know he would get a little paralegal thrown in there.
Oh, goodness gracious.
For free.
Yeah. We can't do any discounts, but there is something else we could do for you, Bob. You got the deal. She was the one who wrote up our paperwork and that I had confided in her things about my ex, all while she was sleeping with him. To say I feel violated is an understatement. I feel like there was coercion on their part in order to manipulate me into not pursuing certain things, and that it was just morally and ethically wrong that she handled any part of our divorce. I mean, that is conflict of interest
To the max.
oh my God. She had every incentive to push us through the divorce for her own romantic game. She called me crying and says that she feels bad and then she's never going to talk to him again and blah, 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 but maintains that she was a professional and they had never been in a relationship. It's semantics. When you're porking your client.
Yeah, and they started before the divorce was finalized. That means she was working on your case and boning your man.
And cheating with a married man. You were sleeping with my husband, and oh, they are still friends because he's seen her every day since this has happened. My God. Which makes sense. Which makes me believe that this was more of a manipulation. There is nothing professional about what happened. I don't know what to do. My friend and attorney said to file an ethics complaint, which I've already written up and sent to him for review. My ex, who used to abuse me, has been threatening that if I do any harm to her, there will be repercussions. Oh my God. He doesn't scare me, but we do have children together and I don't know what he's capable of. Plus, he's refusing to pay child support and said that he will not pay if I pursue anything against her. I'm a single mom of 2 small children and money is an issue. I have not had a single romantic feeling for that man, but I do not feel that I received fair representation based on these morally and ethically dishonest practices. Legally, what can I do? How can I protect myself? This guy is a monster.
But like, what if it's like really bad? Let's say, like, what if it's a billionaire and someone they're married to, the billionaire controls all the assets, the other person in the relationship has nothing? I imagine a law firm will be like, hey, we'll represent you. And we get like half the winnings if we win anything.
Oh, you're saying like there could be bad incentives because they're just like, hey, we'll just represent you. It sounds like this scenario, like a couple and try and get some of the whole thing.
It doesn't seem like in this specific scenario, because the law firm's representing them both, it doesn't seem like necessarily be fair to the wife.
Yeah, exactly. And he was the one that chose it.
Yeah, if he chose it and he was like manipulating, the situation by boning the paralegal, I don't know.
Or the paralegal was manipulating him.
I don't know. It's crazy.
But yeah, this is absolutely beyond insane. Like, yeah.
How do divorce proceedings usually go?
How do they work?
Do lawyers take from like off the back? Do you have to pay up front? Anyone who's been divorced, give us your divorce proceedings stories.
I imagine there's kind of like ambulance chaser lawyer vibes where it's like, hey, we'll represent you and then just try to siphon as much money to get a fee percentage off of that and maybe a fat one.
Yeah, but let us know. That's a doozy of a story. That sucks. Sorry, OP.
Yeah, very sorry. But we love you guys.
We love you.
And we will see you.
See you soon.